So while Labor Deputy Speaker rails against modest, sensible reforms which will help build jobs, we will continue on to help the economy grow jobs and so that more Australians can benefit from that.
I call the member for Cooper.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, Deputy Speaker, I have spent a career standing up for workers' rights. From the time I was a job rep as a young nurse at the local public hospital, when I led the Nurses' Union, and I had the great privilege of being the president of that great institution, the ACTU. And I can tell you, right through all of those years, and I'm getting on now, I have time after time seen the government, Liberal governments, do nothing but attack the take-home pay, the wages of hard-working Australians. So this bill is absolutely no surprise. I could even say it's déjà vu, but it's not, because it's just been a constant attack for the last 8 years. So who'd have thunk it? A Liberal government cutting wages and conditions of workers couldn't be, could it? Well, we all know, and Australians know, that cutting workers' pay and conditions is in the Liberal government's DNA. Whether it was from work choices, remember that? Whether it was cutting low-paid people's penalty rates, whether it was the weaselly, wordly entitled Ensuring Integrity Bill, which tried to cut their right to organise to maintain their pay and conditions, whether it was leaving workers in key industries out of JobKeeper, cutting their superannuation balances, and that's just a short list. I could go on forever, but I've only got a few minutes. But under this new bill drafted by those opposite, we know that it has again failed one very simple test. Will it deliver secure jobs and decent pay? It won't. It has failed. Now, it will allow wages to be cut, and it will not effectively fix the scourge of insecure work. Asking for a decent wage and a secure job is not a big ask. A job is not a job if it doesn't give you the dignity of a decent wage and the security of a paycheck coming in week after week that you can rely on. It means you can pay the mortgage, you can pay the rent. You might even have the joy of a holiday with the kids at the end of the year. It means you can actually go to the bank and get a car loan because you actually have proof of ongoing employment and income. It means you can plan for life's unexpected events, and it certainly means you don't have to work 3 jobs all at once just to get by. Now, the Attorney-General stands in this House and denies that this bill will indeed do the things that we say it's going to do. I mean, this is extraordinary. We know the employers know what this is do. They know what they'll be able to do. They're getting ready. Don't you worry about that. And we had the Shadow Minister outline very, very well exactly what this bill will do, so I don't need to go through it. But if the Attorney-General is denying that it will do any of this, why have clauses in this legislation that means they can cut the better off overall test? Why would you not want a better off overall test if you don't want people not to be better off? It makes absolute sense. Get rid of that bit if you don't want that to happen. Why allow an employer to negotiate with their workers that they can lose penalty rates, lose shift allowances, lose entitlements? Why have something in there if you don't want them to lose it? Because they do actually want workers' pay to go backwards. The Attorney-General knows that. The Prime Minister knows that. They talk about flexibility. Well, I know that workers say that flexibility is the other F word, because whenever they hear that, they know it means it's going to be easier to sack them, it's going to be stopping them organising for better wages and conditions, and it means their wages will be cut. Wages, we know, have been flatlining before COVID. We know that it was a deliberate strategy of this government to keep wages low. It was admitted by their very own. And yet, this is at a time when everybody from the Reserve Bank to any economist you would like to name has been saying the country needs a pay rise. This government can't bring themselves to do that. The thought of raising wages for working people is absolutely beyond them. They want to keep it low. They want to. And this is despite, as the Shadow IR Minister says, increasing people's wages, putting more money in their pockets is the best thing that could happen to our economy. This bill will hurt so many people, including the essential workers who kept us going during the pandemic, who kept us alive, who kept the economy moving. We had a perfect example from my friend, the colleague, the member for Doe Bell, about a disability worker who could lose up to $14,000 a year. What type of government would introduce legislation that could see that happen to some of the lowest paid and yet most important workers in our economy? I'll tell you what sort of government, Deputy Speaker. It's this government, a Liberal government where cutting wages is in their pay. It's a Prime Minister and a Liberal government who simply do not care. They don't care about workers. They never have. Thank you.
I call the member for McKellar.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the member for Watson, the member for Cowper and the member for Tangi for their contributions to this matter of public importance. It always